Hello everybody, here's what we're going to do today. We're going to start with this S5 emblem that I've already downloaded, and now that we don't need this panel anymore, I'm going to click N to get rid of it, and we're going to go Shift A and go Mesh Plane. Let's just move that over a bit so that's where I need it to be. What we're going to do is we're going to trace around the letter, and then we're going to do the beveling on the edges like this to get it to the shape it needs to be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down Shift and right click on one of the points. Actually, I've got to get into edit mode first. Now I'm going to hold down Shift and click on one of those points, and we're going to go delete vertices and get rid of the other three, so we're left with just this one. And I'm going to zoom in a bit more so you can see what we're doing. I'm going to move that down and over, and we're going to just extrude and click there, extrude and click there, and move our way around like this. Now when we're on a curve like this, you want to make the points a little closer together than you would on a straightaway. On a straight line you can go pretty much all the way. Like here you can go farther. It's just a very, very slight curve, almost unnoticeable. But once you get into the actual curve, you got to keep them a little bit closer together, otherwise your curve's not going to be straight, it's going to be jaggedy. Like I did there, but I can show you how to fix that in a minute. You can go back and just move a vertex like you can any other time. And we're just going to continue following this around, as boring as it may be. But hey, not everything is fun, right? Sometimes the boring, tedious stuff is what has to be done to get the job done. And now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to hold Shift and right click. Now I've highlighted both of those, and press Alt M, and I want to join them at the last one of those 2 points. So that's right there. Now up here I was going to show you how to correct this a little bit. Just make that a bit smoother, move one in and out a little bit like that, so you've got your whole line, and then if you do Alt and then click on one of these points, it'll highlight the whole S. I see up here I want to come down just a bit. So now Alt S or Alt, and I've got my S again. Now what we're going to do is we're going to zoom this back in, and I'm going to extrude by hitting E and then right click to get the arrow, and I'll bring that down just a little bit. Now if we go above it again, and this grid line thing drives me nuts, I don't like it. So I'm going to go over here and hit N and bring this up and go to where it says display right here, and I'm going to uncheck the grid floor, and that gets rid of my grid floor. I've never seen anybody else get rid of the grid floor, but it bothers me, so I'm doing it. I'm going to hold down Shift S, and I'm going to extrude that. I want it out a bit like that, and then left click to lock it in, and then we're actually upside down there. Let's go this way. We're going to extrude that a bit farther down like this, and there we have our S from the emblem. Now this inside edge, we want it filled in, so we're going to highlight that whole edge again, and then just hit F for fill, and we have our S Now that S, that upper edge there, I'm just going to go Shift D, and I'm going to make a copy of it, and I'm going to go into the view of the image, and I'm going to move that over because you'll see that the S and the 5 have a lot of similarities, as you probably imagined. And now we just have to tweak it a little bit. So I'm going to zoom in on the... I just took the top layer. We'll do the bevel afterwards, once we get the shape where we want it to be. But I want to get this all the way up to here, so I'm going to hold down Control and right click, and that brings up all of those. Now I'm going to make them into a straight line to go down here. So I want to make them even on the x-axis, which is this red one, so I'm going to go SX0, enter. Now I've got a nice line, and I want to rotate on the z-axis and bring it to here, because I'm in top view, right? I'm looking down on top of it, so in this case it's the z-axis, but which axis you need to rotate on or whatever depends on what view you're in. So now we're going to move these up a little bit and make the curve, and move that in a little bit. We've got that curve now. Underneath is okay. We've got to bring this up a bit. This is what I meant when I said if your curve is a little bit off when you're tracing around it with the extrude vertex mode, you can just correct them as you need to. Not a big problem. And again, I'm going to take from here to here, and I'm going to do SX0, enter to get a line. Move that back roughly there. I'm going to go rotate Z. You can tell I'm Canadian because I'm saying Z instead of Z. And then I'm going to take this one, I'm going to move it just a bit like that. Bring that down. Actually, I'm going to go all the way to here. And go SY0, enter. Bring that to a line. And bring that along that line. And that one can go over to that corner. So now we're good all the way. This one I'm going to bring back a bit like that. So now we're pretty good along there. Just have to fix that. I don't know how I messed that up, but okay. I thought I had this pretty much where I needed it. Okay, so we're good around here, good around here. Now I'm going to go from this one to this one by holding down Control and right click, and then I'm going to go SX0, enter again. I'm going to size that in a bit, move it up, move it over. I'm going to bring it up a bit. I'm going to take this one and move it like that so it's a little rounded. We don't need all these vertexes, so I'm going to take this one and this one and this one and go Alt-M at last. Gets rid of a few of them. And then we can go there and take this one and go there. Now if I want to straighten that out, I can just do that and go SX0, enter, rotate Z to get the line where I want it to be, and boom. We have, holding down Alt and clicking on one of these vertexes, we have our 5. And I see here I've got to straighten these out a little bit. So SY0, enter, and bring that down. So we've got a nice line. And now check, yes. So now we have our 5. So now we're going to go to this angle and extrude with the E and bring that down just a little bit like that. Go back up to the top so we can see what we're doing. Go Alt-S. Oops. Alt-S and bring that out a bit like that, just like the other one. And then left click to lock it in. And that's a little higher up than that one, so we're going to bring that up a bit like so. And and then we're going to do extrude, right click, and bring that down. And then we have our S5. Now if you remember, there was a square plate over here, so we got to make that as well. So let's go back to object mode, click A to deselect these. We're going to do this as a separate one, we'll join them in a minute. I'm going to go Shift A, mesh plane, and then tab for object mode, move this over and down so it's about even with that spot. Move this up into about even with that spot. Move this over so it's even with that corner. Move this over so it's even with that corner. Roughly. Close enough. Now, we want to highlight all of those. We're going to extrude S to bring it out just a bit like that. We're going to tip it up at an angle like this. We're going to go extrude S. Just extrude up a bit like that, and then extrude S to come out a bit, which if we go back to our view, that's approximately right. It's at a bit of an angle, so you got to kind of eyeball it. And then extrude down, and this would have to go even with the bottom. Now, this whole piece has to be so that it's kind of flush on the top. Just below flush on the top, and the bottom edge, which is that edge there, has to be even with the back of these. Same with this bottom edge, it has to be even with the back of those. So that's all good now. Now, if we were to highlight the plane, go into the face mode, highlight this plane, and if we were to change the color on that, it's going to change the whole mess here. Let's try it. Let's just change the color. We will go, I'm in cycles render, which is where I want to be. We go plus, and we go change diffuse to principled BSDF. Actually, you know what? We're going to do this a different way. We're going to highlight everything. No, let's do it this way. We'll do it this way. We're going with where we were. We're going to turn the green and blue down to 0, keep the red at 8 or 0.8, and we have to hit assign now because we're in edit mode. When we're in object mode, those go away, but we're there now. If we were to highlight, put it into rendered mode, the whole thing is red. Okay, now we want the border to be chrome, just like we want these to be chrome. So we will go A to deselect and then select all. We're going to hold shift down and right click on the part that we don't want the new color. And we're going to go plus, we're going to go new. And instead of diffuse BSDF, we're going to go to anisotropic BSDF and hit assign. Now this we're going to double click on and rename it Chrome. Enter. And this we're going to double click on that and just change it to red. So now if we were to highlight render that, it comes up as red with a chrome border, just like the emblem's supposed to be. See? Now if we go back to object mode and go out of render mode, back to solid mode, we can click on the S5, go plus new, diffuse, we're going to change over to anisotropic BSDF again, and now if we were to render it, we've got the S5 and the emblem in red with the chrome border. Okay, now the only thing left to do now is, since the car is white, we're going to go shift A and make a mesh plane, which we're going to size up. Boom, done. Now obviously that's too high for where we need it to be because it's going to represent the body of the car, so we're going to move that down so it's even with the back of the lettering, roughly like that. And we're going to go plus new. We're going to change BSDF to principal shader. Going to leave the coloring white because it's a white car. We're going to leave it at that. And now we've got our Chrome S5 emblem on white background, complete with the beveled edges just the way they would be on the real car. Okay, so that's that. And then we can set up the lighting and do all of that stuff and save a picture, but that is how you end up with your S5 emblem. And that's all for tonight.